It's 11:33 on Saturday, October 18th, and we are here today at a special city council meeting between the Leon Valley Historical Society Board of Directors and the City Council of Leon Valley. And I do have a quorum present of our city council, and I'm going to go ahead and ask Board Chair Kathy Hill of the Historical Society to call your meeting to order, please.
Yes. My name is Kathy Hill. I'm the president of the Leon Valley Historical Society, and with our members present and participating via GoToMeeting, we will call it meeting to order.
Great. So citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens in the room that would like to address the council and the Historical Society board before we begin? Ms. Burnside, would you like to address the council and the board before? Okay, that's all. I just wanted to be sure. All right, we go to presentations number 3.1, welcome and introductions. Okay, I'm Mayor Chris Riley. I think we all know each other. And I'm just really excited that we're here today because I think our goal is to work together to try to bring the Historical Society Homestead as the focal point of our city. As you all know, our tagline is Deep Roots, Big Ideas, and the Deep Roots went right back to that old building. So I think 1862, so I think that's our goal, is to work together, see how that can become a reality. I just want to make a note before we go around the room for the introduction. We have a large agenda today, so let's hear from everyone and just be cognizant of, our time. And then we will try to adjourn right at 1:30. If we need to reconvene at a later date, I think we can do that if everyone is amenable. So thank you and welcome. So glad you're here. Kathy?
Yes. My name is Kathy Hill, and as I said, I am the president of the Leon Valley Historical Society. I have been involved with the Historical Society since 2014. Prior to that, I served on city council. I was a zoning commissioner. I served on whatever committee the mayor asked me to serve on. And I've been living in Leon Valley full-time since 2005, and before that, my family moved here in 1982.
Danielle, would you like to continue or just go around? Oh, okay. Over here, Betty.
Just like the restaurant,
Here,
right?
Betty. Let's start with Betty. Yeah. Okay,
I'm
Betty.
Betty.
Sorry.
I'm City Council, Place 2, and Mayor Pro Tem.
Darby Riley, I'm on the board of the Historical Society and formerly on the council and been around since 1978 in the city.
I'm Ruth Lyle. I'm with the Leon Valley Historical Society. I've been involved for about almost 10 years, I think so now. And I'm currently the historian for the group.
Councilman Orozco, been in council for about 5 years.
City Manager Crystal Colbert, been with the city for over 20.
Lynn Joseph, I'm also a board member of the Historical Society, and I've been with them for a year this month. And I've been in San Antonio, Leon Valley, for about 41 years now.
I'm Zach Marcotte, volunteer with the Historical Society. Been in Leon Valley since my family moved here in '82. Grew up here and still here.
I'm Beth Mersch, Place 5 councilperson for Leon Valley. I just got on the council in May, and I've been living in Leon Valley for 40 years.
My name is Philip Campos. I'm the City Council, Place 3 councilman. I've been on the council starting my 3rd year. Just re-elected last May. I've been a resident for Leon Valley for the last 46 years. I came over here as a newlywed and still here after moving to 3 different homes. So I'm still here.
And still married.
And I'm Danielle Bolton. I'm a council member, councilwoman for Place 1. I was elected in May. I'm also a member of the Historical Society. I've been on that committee for a year, maybe a year and a half. And I've lived in Leon Valley since 1976.
Can I just say one thing?
All right, go ahead.
Because I'm probably the youngest, no, I'm not. But I've been involved in this organization, the Historical Society, from the very beginning, maybe before you even were born. But so if you have any questions about way back when, I was there, okay?
We put onions on people's doorsteps to save the house. Yes, that was Rita's idea. That was really good. Okay, so thank you, Rita, for that. Yes, let's go around to Crystal. Miranda, would you introduce yourself?
I'm sorry.
I'm Chris Moran, the Community Relations Director.
Okay,
Very good.
and Sandra?
Sandra Vasily, City Secretary.
Okay, and then we also have two board members for the Historical Society online, John and Mary Hoyt. They're in Wyoming. And John and Mary, would y'all introduce yourselves, please?
Hey, good morning. This is John and Mary Hoyt, and thank you so much for accommodating us to attend this meeting via Zoom. We've lived in Leon Valley 40 years, and have been involved in the Historical Society, and we are board members for the last 2 years almost.
Great, thank you, appreciate it. All right, so we are gonna go to agenda item number 3.2, discussion between the City of Leon Valley and the Leon Valley Historical Society regarding history and timeline. I do know that Kathy Hill, you have a presentation, and so does the city manager. So between the two of you, would you like to begin? Or who would like to?
Yeah, I think Kathy should go
I
first,
can.
Yeah, go ahead and then.
because she has more of the history
Okay,
part, and
great.
I'm just
Yes.
gonna really go through.
Okay, very good, thank you.
And I'll try to keep it brief, because some of you have heard some of this before, but not everybody has. So,
And can I ask you, how do y'all wanna handle questions?
However you want, Mary,
Do
just
y'all
raise
want
your
to-
hand and you can
Yeah, just raise your
recognize.
hand
And
and
when
then
I'm-
recognize me.
when
Yeah,
I'm
let's
ready
do
to
it.
advance,
Well,
I will do it,
Okay.
just tell me next,
Appreciate
Freddie.
it.
I think you can do next.
And then how do we know if John and Mary have a question?
They're gonna text me.
Okay, great, thank you.
The Leon Valley Historical Society was founded in 1973 as part of the Leon Valley Pageant Association. And we always were involved in documenting and researching our history. And we wanted to make sure that we knew our place in the area's history and that we could share that with the public. Our immediate objective is the preservation and restoration of the Huebner Onion Homestead and its and the surrounding buildings, and to provide an interpretation for its history in the development of Southwest Texas as a pioneer, as part of the original pioneer frontier. For more than 50 years, we've promoted and compiled the history of Leon Valley together with the Friends of the Leon Valley Library. Our former historian, Carol Poss, was very involved in both organizations. Together, we literally wrote the book on Leon Valley's history. So this book, Images of America in Leon Valley, you can purchase at Walgreens or online, and that was a joint effort between our two organizations. We've assisted in designating many historical sites around town, so including Major Neely's marker in front of City Hall and the Ever School Well. The Rimkus store is a marker that's on the corner of Grissom and Bandera Road, and then of course our own Huebner Onion Homestead stop, and there's a couple more.
Cemetery.
The cemetery, the gravesite, yes. So this is what the house looked like in 2001 when it was deeded to us. It was pretty much a wreck. It had been burned out. There had been fires there, people just kind of breaking in, wanting to have little seances because of the stories about the hauntings of the house. And then with the help of grant monies from the Texas Historical Commission and also the San Antonio Conservation Society and people in our community, we were able to take buildings. For example, this one on the right, the original house, and later became Cook House, that dates back to the 1850s, and that was just a pile of stones. Mary, did you have a question?
No, I didn't, I was just.
That was just a pile of stones, that had to be rebuilt. The barn was in pretty bad shape too. A lot of the stones were out of place, fallen, missing, had to be repositioned, and then repointed. Yes. And the house as well. So for many years, it stood on Bandera Road without a two-story porch. The porch was an addition to the home during the time of the Huebner family, during the family's occupation, and we received a challenge grant from the descendants of the family to restore that porch. So I'll get to that in a little bit. Just quickly, Joseph Huebner came here in the 1850s. He was a successful businessman in San Antonio. He ran a stable in downtown San Antonio where people could overnight their horses if they were staying in a hotel nearby. But he always wanted to have land. That was his dream. And so in 1858, he purchased 200 acres out of the Lozoya survey, and he built that little one-room, 12 by 12 limestone building. And that's like all Civil War era stories that we want to be able to tell as well. The main house was just the bottom floor, just the front room and the bottom floor. That second story, right above the front door, was added in the 1880s, and then the barn was built at some time after that. And it wasn't until the 1930s that the Onions came and they added this eastern wing of the house, southeastern wing of the house. The Salazars lived in that house for a while. They owned property next door, and I suspect that they were building their home next door when they were renting the Onion homestead. He was known for his masonry work, and he did the sonnet ring in Lucas Park, and they also made the Northwest Little League possible. The Onions purchased the home in the 1930s. Even though that was the Depression, Judge Onion was a prosperous attorney, and he was already a respected judge. And he and his wife wanted to raise their sons there. They thought it would be good for them to be in the fresh air and out in the country at that time. They added on to the home, and they lived there until they passed away. The house was almost continuously occupied for over 100 years. Harriet passed away in 1982 or 3, something like that. I think she only was out of the house maybe a year before her death. This is what the house looked like in the 1930s. I love the old car, and I think I can't tell if it's a horse or a cow. It kind of looks like a cow.
It's a cow.
It's a cow, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Crystal. So, since the Historical Society became involved, this is kind of, the work that we've been doing since 2001. So we rebuilt and we stabilized and we mothballed the house to keep it from falling down and the associated buildings. That was about $61,000 that came from the Texas Historical Commission and the San Antonio Conservation Society primarily. Then our next task was to produce a historic structures report and a master plan for the restoration and interpretation. That was about a $70,000 project. It was like $69,000 some odd dollars. I have a copy of that notebook here. That is a very important document because not only does it lay out a vision for how the homestead can be used in the future, but also it has all the engineering specs. It's got the specifications and the plans that you need when you apply for a grant. So it was very much worth the investment. Can you go back one more? Thank you. So we've been involved with archaeological research at the site, and we did put in the trails and maintained the trails at the Huebner Onion Natural Area, as well as maintained the insurance policy for about 10 years on that property. And then we've been doing research at the archives on the history of Leon Valley. Okay, thank you, Crystal. So we got our designation. We are a Texas Historic Landmark, and we're on the National Register of Historic Places. We also got the gravesite set aside for cemetery purposes by the Texas Historical Commission. So that is in place as well. In 2014, we got a challenge grant from the descendants of Joseph Huebner. They wanted to see the porch put back on the house. And so they said, we will donate $30,000 to you if you will raise $30,000. So we did. We did it in less than a year. And the result is what you see today. We finished that project in 2014, and then we were asked that whatever money might be left over that we put towards the restoration of the gravesite. And so it was a couple of years later that we had some money to allocate for that project, and we worked together with the city of Leon Valley as well to restore the gravesite that's in the natural area. Thank you, Crystal. We signed an MOU with the city of Leon Valley, the first of two. We'll be talking about the second one today. We put in the subfloor in the homestead living room. That was about $16,000 project. Those funds were raised from events like the Bleaching Gala and Homestead Under the Stars and donations that people give to us and memberships that people give to us. We installed electricity in the house. We ran, we worked with the City of Leon Valley to get our certificate of occupancy. Last year, we put in a swale to direct water away from the house itself, and we were having some issues with moisture accumulating in the corner of the house, so we did that. And then we requested and we received a water meter and hookup from the City of Leon Valley, so thank you guys very much for that. We're now a paying water customer with Leon Valley. And we signed our, next Kristen, please. So currently, what we're doing, you might see some folks over at the homestead over the next few days. They've already been cleaning the cedar porch, and they'll be restaining the cedar porch over the next week or so. We submitted a grant request to the Texas Historical Commission's Preservation Trust. We are awaiting word on that. We made it through the first round of applications. It's a $24,000 grant to replace the metal roof on the homestead and to replace the support structure underneath it. It is needed. It was noted at the time that we did the stonework on the house that the roof was going to need to be done at some point. So we are hoping that they will only pick half of the group that made it to the second round. So our fingers are crossed because that is work that we need to do. We should find out, we believe, in November or early December. And then we put in a grant to the San Antonio Conservation Society to repair and repoint the exterior masonry of the house. So periodically things settle, you need to put more mortar in there, you need to fill in the cracks, gaps, and holes, and to keep it sound. And so we're waiting to hear back on that. If we receive that grant, we'll find out about that in December. We asked them for $10,000, and we think that they would give us $10,000 if they select us. The grant from the Preservation Trust is a one-to-one match, so we would be responsible for 12, and they would be responsible for 12. But at the front end, we have to pay for everything. So what happens is they tell us we get the grant, if we get the grant, and then we do the work. They come and make sure that we have done the work the way that we presented it to them. And if everything is good, then they write us a check for what they will give us. So in the Texas Historical Commission's case, $12,000, and in the Conservation Society's case, $10,000. We'd like to do a mixer with the Northwest Chamber of Commerce. Now that we have a certificate of occupancy, we've talked about that with them, and so we'll be working on some dates when we get good weather to do that. We'd like to do some art classes at the homestead. We've been talking with the folks at the Southwest School of Art and Craft about how we might offer painting and drawing classes at the homestead. We can do those kinds of things on the grounds, even though the house isn't finished. And we're looking at some education grants that are available for us to do programming for teachers in school. So we need to develop a curriculum and also a curriculum later for when kids come to visit the campus. And then we're looking at additional building grants and donations. The next projects that we want to do are the dining room and kitchen subfloors and the staircase and landing. So we have a new member who is working with us and who is interested in helping to support that project, but we're still trying to get all of the costs associated, and we'll see if he's willing to fund the whole thing or if we need to get some additional help for that subfloor project. And the staircase and landing is a possibility, might be the Texas Historical Foundation, which is different from the Preservation Trust Fund. But there's also the possibility of the San Antonio Area Foundation and one of Santico's grants. So although it looks like that's maybe more of a capital campaign kind of project, but we can talk to them at least about it. We're sort of looking for who might help us with those two possibilities. Thank you, Crystal. So just some pictures to show you some stuff. So the gravesite was, pretty much all the stones down and scattered, and then this is a picture of what it looks like now. A nice little and then the natural area. Thank you, Crystal. We have many volunteer opportunities for people who want to help us out. We do lots of events at the homestead, the 5K run. This one on the left was an archaeology project at the homestead, along with a group of, they were a metal detecting club. And events at the homestead. Thank you. Cleanup at the homestead and the Triangle Park. So we have been doing that every year. We try to get a lot of trash out of there. And in the meantime, in between times when the Hoyts are around, then John has been very diligent about picking up trash in the adjacent Triangle Park property and leaving it for Public Works to come and pick up. So this is from last year's cleanup. And then just from last weekend, we had a Halloween event at the homestead. The kids had, I think the surprise hit was the toilet paper mummy wrap. But they do a scavenger hunt too, and they learn about the history of the property. They have to identify tools. And then Regina Reed came and read stories to the kids that are published ghost stories about the Huber and the homestead. And then we do like a Christmas event. So our next one coming up is the Cowboy Christmas. And yes, so that's kind of in a quick overview, kind of what we've been working on and what we've got to look
Are
forward
there any
to.
questions for Kathy on the PowerPoint presentation or comments?
Yes,
Yes, I know that you had indicated that the Heaters had donated some money. Has the Onion family donated any money at all?
they are members of the Historical Society. They have given us some cash donations. We've been in contact with them. We're still helpful.
We have furniture, right?
And they have come to talk to us
We,
at events too.
I don't know that we have actual furniture from them
No.
in our collection. We do have a collection of furniture, some things that were donated to us that are in air-conditioned storage
What about the rocking chair?
on Griffin Road. That is on loan to us. That is the Heatners, that's Carolyn
Oh, okay.
Heatner's rocking
Heatners,
chair.
Okay.
And that's on loan to us. It may be a permanent loan to us, but yeah, we keep that in the air-conditioned storage, and then when we have events, we bring it over. But the Heatners had indicated that perhaps there might be a saddle coming our way at some point. There have been some books,
That's the
Judge Onion's
Onion
books.
family is
Yeah.
the saddle.
We have some of Judge Onion's law books.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Compost.
So when you go back a few slides, or you don't have to go back a slide, but in there you mentioned different events. So when you have these events, where do the people park that are participating?
That's always a challenge, but what they've been doing is they've been parking at City Hall. City Hall has been very kind to us about, letting us use parking when no one is working there. And we hire an off-duty policeman from the city of Leon Valley to manage the traffic across the crosswalk.
So you hire.
It wasn't always that way, but when we started the MOU,
Yeah.
we said, it's not in the MOU, so you're gonna have to pay for an
Mhm.
officer, but gosh, since 2004 until that time, we were
Yeah.
supplying them with them.
Yeah. So that will be a challenge. One of the things that's in our master plan for development, if it ever happens, on that Triangle Park, the vision for the Triangle Park is to build a multi-purpose classroom, like an outdoor space that's covered, so it could be an event space, it could be an outdoor classroom. It would be something that would be used jointly by the City of Leon Valley and the Leon Valley Historical Society. And there was a vision for a curb cut at Alberti that would bring traffic into that little Triangle Park and provide a place for people to drop off. And some limited parking spaces, we think probably mostly for handicapped individuals, handicapped spaces.
Councilor Roscoe.
Thank you, Kathy. In December 6th, I believe, we asked you to submit a Form 990. Have you guys submitted any of those forms since 3 years ago? Okay, because I haven't seen them.
I don't have them, I don't know.
Our 990s are available through our website. And I'll make sure to get you the link, but on our website and also on a database for nonprofit organizations, it used to be called GuideStar. Now it's called Candid.
It's called what?
Candid, C-A-N-D-I-D. But if you, so you can look it up on Candid, and it's the Leon Valley Pageant Association. We are a DBA, Leon Valley Historical Society.
Very good.
But we can make sure you get that.
Okay.
And they go back, I was looking at them the other day. They gave us an oops notice on the forms that are supposed to be there from like 2001, 2002, 2003. So I'm not sure if that's an error on their part or if we need to resubmit those, but it should be.
But you guys
for the
have it on
years.
file, right?
Yes, yes,
All right, thank you.
yes.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Councilor.
The cemetery that's on Forest Pine,
Uh-huh.
this is not part of the historical society?
No, it's not. That is privately owned and managed by the Evers family and their descendants.
It's really interesting to walk through that though, because there's history on
It is.
different graves and on the tombstones.
It is. I just came across a report. So we've had some students from Northwest Vista College who are studying archaeology come out to the Homestead and Leon Valley in general. Kind of just doing assignments for their class. And one of the assignments was for that gravesite. And so they noted that it was founded when a woman who was traveling through Leon Valley passed away, and they needed a place to bury her. And the Evers family has been burying their descendants there. And then there's a story about a leg.
I think on one of the tombstones, excuse me, it mentions that lady and her unborn baby or her newborn baby.
Yes.
So it's really, there's so much history in there.
It is, yes. We're lucky to have that.
Back on topic, just a little bit, please.
Well, yeah, I think
Oh, okay.
she had that question, so I
Okay.
wanted at least, anybody else?
Any other questions?
Sounds great. Okay, yeah, there's a lot more history that we could go
Okay.
into, like how that
I
place
think-
was
The
saved.
end of the
Oh,
historical.
yes.
2000, but we won't go there because we have to move on. But
I know
there's
you
a lot
want
of
to talk
history.
about,
All about
yeah,
the
like what we do in
historical
the future.
society.
But I wanted to kind of give you
It's a
a
whole
Well, thank you.
backdrop.
Really appreciate
So-
that.
Okay.
All right. Any other
Do the
questions? If
citizens
not, then I'm
have
going
a
to move into, at 12:01, Dr. Caldera is going to give.
Yes, just real quick,
Yes.
because, so,
That's what I'm trying to see.
essentially, so I had a couple of
but this is-
questions
we
from a
could,
couple of.
Where are we?
Rita, excuse me.
Yeah.
We need to listen to Dr. Caldera. She's going to start. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so, so I had a couple of questions from a couple of council members on the history of the agreement with the Historical Society and when the MOU started. And so I had to do a little bit of digging because I've been around a while, but not that long. And so I put together, constructed a little bit of a timeline. And so I will go through that. And again, those of you that have been here longer, feel free to correct me on anything. I would love to think, I did my research, but there's
1858, not 1852. So see, I.
There you go.
myself. So, yeah.
Okay, so just really briefly, my records go back to around 2004. Essentially, we had a lease agreement for the 36 acres. That lease agreement was for roughly 10 years. It expired in 2015. And as part of that lease agreement during that time, maintenance of that area, like us mowing and cutting the trees, kind of began during that lease agreement. When that lease agreement ended though, in 2015, there really wasn't too many agreements or anything. The city was just kind of doing these things. They were mowing, we would put up Christmas lights, we would kind of help with small things. Nothing, we wouldn't put the porch on the house or anything. We just help with Christmas lights, we would help with security, we would help set up for events, put out chairs for their galas or their socials. That's kind of the stuff we did. And then I kind of looked at other agreements throughout the years, and we did a match for $750 to save the pigeon racing barn, and we stored that. They did ask for $9,500 from the Leon Valley Economic Development Corporation at the time, so it was separate than what they are today. They were their own entity at the time.
Oh, that was for the tricentennial event.
The tricentennial, yeah. So it was like helping with the floor, I think, and the electrical conduit is what I could find with that $9,500 is what was mentioned in a meeting. But it said $9,500, so I don't. That's what it said on a document, it said 9,500 for the LBDC, and it was for electrical conduit and flooring.
The electrical was for the hiring of the, it was for hiring a company to provide electrical services at the homestead for the tricentennial
Centennial
event.
event, yeah, okay.
Yes.
And then
the
I
rental
guess
of
a little
tables
bit
and
of
chairs.
floor restoration.
I would have to go back and take a look.
But
to
it was
see.
9,500,
Yeah.
I mean, from the
Yes.
LBEDC.
Yes.
And so then, in 2015, there is a discussion of a public partnership with the new city manager. At the time, it was Kelly and the Historical Society. And then we realized we had been kind of doing these things kind of outside of an official agreement. That agreement that existed had already kind of ended in 2015. So in 2016, we decided to do an MOU. And in that MOU, it was all of the things that the Historical Society were supposed to do and all of the things the city were supposed to do. And essentially the only thing you could find with like dollars tied to it from the city was really the maintenance of the 2 acres. Everything else was more like working with TxDOT. If grants or funding came through, we had some sort of obligations. But at the time in 2016, at the end of 2016, there really wasn't any funding that could be, the Historical Society didn't go out for grants that year that was turned into the city. There wasn't, working with Northside. So there wasn't any record that I could find in 2016. And the way the MOU worked was it was just for 1 year. It was just for the calendar year 2016. Then it gets dropped. It goes nowhere. Nobody brings it back up. We just kind of continue operating as such. And we do finish the gravesite. The gravesite then becomes ours because the 36 acres becomes ours. And so we do the fencing, we do the stonework. I think they gave us a little bit of money from that original grant they had from way back when to help kind of put it together. But the city puts the fencing, we do all of that stuff. I'm sorry.
Yes, for the gravesite.
For the gravesite.
Councilor Campos.
So just to be clear, that gravesite that we saw that has been improved, it is city property.
Correct.
And
It
the
is-
city of
well,
Leon Valley did that improvement?
Correct, the fencing, putting the stones up, that part, but there was a little bit of money
Yeah.
from the original descendant dollars that were
Yes.
left, that were given, but there's no record of exactly how much, but we did pay in full for the fence. We did pay for the stones to be put up. We put a game camera because there was some vandalism towards the gravesite, and so we maintain the gravesite, it's ours, but it was ours to restore. And there's some letters from the Historical Society to us, asking us to move forward with those repairs and improvements. But there was some money left over from the descendant grant, I don't know if it was 2,000 or 3,000, but it was used to help restore the grant. So it was kind of a partnership at that time, but nothing was in writing, it was just kind of ours and we did it.
So
Go ahead.
So out of the original property, how many acres were there? Were the homestead and the
Roughly 2 acres, it belongs to them, and then we take the 36 acres, and then they help with the triangle property, they do it once a year.
The city purchased the 36 acres.
Yes, for $350,000.
Yeah.
So that was paid to the historical?
I don't know who it was paid to.
No, it's paid to,
In-town
In-Town
Sweets.
Sweets bought 38 acres from the Onions. They needed 2 for their place. They donated at fresh public pressure. They donated 0.58 acres to us with the buildings on it, to the Historical Society. And then the rest, the city bought 36 acres for $350,000.
Okay.
But then we had a lease agreement with them for the 36 acres for 10 years. I know, I don't understand that, I wasn't here, it was way back in 2004. I found the original 2004 presentation that was given, and it was a little bit vague, but essentially we leased the 36 acres from the Historical Society, even though we bought it, for a 10-year period. After that 10 years, they requested an extension. The city said, we're not extending the lease agreement, and then we owned it outright. I'm not sure why that, I mean, and I don't know if it really matters at this point, but we own the 36 acres, gravesite is ours.
Yes, Councilor Marsh had a
What
question.
is this triangle property? I don't have.
It's
a
the property
system.
right next to, the historical
trees
house.
are.
There's that little
That little
corner,
Where
so
they
it's the
change-
house.
to the road. It's between the creek
and Bandera Road.
Okay.
That little
That
kind of
little
like
section.
Towards
area.
Seneca, in that direction.
Yeah,
Okay,
towards
all right.
the shopping center.
Okay.
We have the half acre that the homestead and most of the barn.
Is on.
And
I give y'all
the
2
cookhouse.
acres roughly that we maintain,
Yeah.
that belongs to y'all, is kind of the go-to number, but I think it's like 1. If you do the math, I think it's like 1.78 or something like that.
Okay.
It's getting smaller.
And so then we moved to 2017. What I can find is city staff wrote a grant to the Texas Parks and Wildlife on behalf of the Historical Society. We got a resolution from the council to allow staff to do that. We don't end up getting the grant. We hold another joint meeting, and then we realize that there's no effective MOU again. And so we say, okay, we kind of need to start having a conversation about another MOU. But then, as you all know, for those of you that were here between 2016 to 2020, it was crazy. We had a lot of stuff go on. Some things kind of got pushed to the wayside. We do have a joint meeting in January. We do the official agreement for the tricentennial. The Historical Society for the tricentennial agrees to basically hold an event there, and we agree to like table setup, chair setup, assistance with removing the fence and taking it down, putting it back up, all for this event. But it was a collective event with Bexar County, the Historical Society, and the city to participate in the tricentennial, but there was no MOU. 2019 comes along and we're like, we really need to get an MOU again, guys. We hold another meeting, and so we agree to go ahead and put it on for the next meeting. So it technically becomes a 2020 MOU, and it's essentially the same exact MOU since 2016. What's in yellow is what was added from 2016. And so basically we were saying, hey, we need more updates of what y'all are doing, how the projects are coming along. And so that's kind of what was done. But during all of this time, even though it wasn't in the MOU, we were still helping with the 5K run, we're still helping with hanging the tree lighting, we're still helping with chair setup when we can for certain events, and so we're still doing that. So so then there's a transition of city managers again, and I come on and say, okay guys, we need an MOU, but I don't want to keep coming back every year. And so I just extended it to 2030 and said, look, we're just going to do this till 2030. We don't, because it keeps falling through the cracks. Nobody's staying on top of it. And so I added the stuff though that we do. We do the lights, the 5K, and I added that to the MOU because it was stuff we were doing since 2016, but it wasn't in the MOU. And so in speaking with the attorney, because there was this conversation, are we giving more than we're getting and all of this stuff, the attorney agreed that if they accomplish what they're supposed to accomplish in 10 years, that 10-year time period that we put in the MOU, then yes, it would outweigh what we gave. And so essentially what I did was put together a brief, and again, I put estimate everywhere, of what we've given to the Historical Society over the last 21 years. And so maintaining the 2 acres, I was very, very, very conservative and just did $1,000 a year.
You own that 2 acres.
Well, not the 2 acres, your land. So anytime a tree falls on your property, anytime the grass gets kind of high back there, we're the ones that go cut it, maintain it, mow it. We do all of that. And so that's what I just did. So unless we don't, I mean, again, if you don't think that's, I just did 2 guys.
Is that mowing the property?
Yeah, mowing the property.
The Historical Society?
Yes,
Point
whatever,
758
acres, yes
acres.
ma'am. And the $1,000 came from a 2004 presentation, so I didn't up it. Like I'm not saying what the guys get paid now. I gave y'all the 2004 price and left it that way. So I tried to be ultra conservative with that. And again, that's over 21 years. I'm not saying that it's overly done, that's over 21 years. I did the pigeon coop, the EDC money, the Christmas lights at $120 a year, and the in-kind grant for y'all's events since 2016, and then we did the impact fees. So I think, to be super conservative, I think over the 21 years, monetarily wise, I think we've given the Historical Society close to between $90,000 to $100,000 of just either staff services, in-kind stuff. I didn't include the graveside, I didn't include any of that stuff. It's just our working relationship, but that's over 21 years. You can do the math, if you divide that over 21 years, it would be considered in an accounting side of things kind of immaterial in that regard. But the partnership as part of the MOU, or the purpose of the MOU, the goal has always been to get the house open to the general public. And so I know, but looking back and doing the timeline for this particular PowerPoint, there's been many requests for the city to acquire the homestead, because if the city acquires a homestead, I can dedicate staff to do grants, I can add money to it, it becomes part of projects. I know it's been very, I don't know what the word is, you know, I know the Historical Society has wanted to continue to advocate for that. It is my personal and professional opinion, you're not going to be able to bring that homestead back to its full glory or open it up to a museum with ice cream socials and a gala. Like, and I know y'all are going for grants, but I just don't see, you're gonna need at least $2 or $3 million to get that open to the vision of what you have in your master plan. And so that's why I think the acquisition has been brought up, not even by me, it was brought up by Manny Longoria, it was brought up by Kelly Kensler, as part of a conversation at one point. And so I know the question always comes up on why can't the city give money to the Historical Society? And we can't give money if it's not for a public purpose. And so in the past, we've had several attorneys give us opinions on what public purpose means. And so that has been we can use hot tax, the city can use their hotel motel tax, and we could do a grant that way. But we don't have a whole lot of hot tax left. I think I have $60,000 in the reserve fund, and I need a new restroom in the community center. So,
okay, Councilor Campos has a question.
In this 91,000, I think it's a great representation. I think it's a little too conservative in terms of like the Christmas lights. How many crew members does it take to?
So all I did was so again, I don't want it to look, the Historical Society is a very politically, passionate group of people. And I've seen this go bad on both sides. I've seen where there's residents and council members that don't want to give a penny, don't want us to participate at all, they want it to completely separate. I don't want to take a position either way. I love the house. I grew up with the house here. I've been here since 2004. But what I said was 2 guys at $20 an hour. I think I did $20 an hour for 3 hours, I think is what I did. It just depends on what we're doing at the house. Sometimes it's just a strand of lights and a wreath. Sometimes we've done like wrapping all the poles and we've done some extra things. I operated because it's not something we keep track of. And so I didn't want to overinflate the price either.
And this one in-kind annual event, is that the event at the conference center?
Yes, the community center.
And then what about, I know I attended an event on the ground. Did y'all pay for that? Do y'all pay for that security?
No, we hired the guards.
So, and that's kind of hard. So if you look at my footnotes, and if you have the presentation in front of you, I passed them out so you can kind of see my footnote. It's hard. Like, so the 5K is another good example, and we have that on an agenda item for you. But essentially, between 2015 to 2019, so I put my calculation. So if y'all think I did a calculation that isn't right or whatever, you can certainly call me out on it. This is a safe space. And so, so basically we were super heavy on the fire department, and we basically only used light PD, and the staff volunteered. So I was at a barricade, Yvonne was at a barricade, Melinda was at a barricade, and we really didn't use PD. So it was very light on PD. The problem is Melinda and Yvonne almost get hit by a car. It's raining, they almost get hit, and they basically say, we're not going to stand at barricades anymore. And Joseph Aggio, the former police chief, comes on and says, absolutely not, staff should not be dealing with traffic, and so the cost of PD being there goes up. And so that happens around 2020. And so you'll see the increase for PD go up, Public Works pretty much stays the same, and the staff is no longer kind of part of being routers. Like, I do volunteer sometimes for that event, y'all will see me there, and if they need help passing out water, I'm happy to do that. But we used to be required to participate. And Luis Valdez, the former fire chief, was really big into 5Ks, and he would do the routing for them, and he would do all the meetings and set up all the stuff for them.
That's kind of how it started.
So Luis kind of just basically helped them through that process and did that kind of for them. I don't have a dollar amount associated with that. But they would market and they would do all of these things. But I was, again, trying to be super conservative, so I just went with the super conservative amount and didn't even include the fire department those first couple of years. Now, last year, because we did it back here, the cost for public works is only like $219 and PD was $1,700. And so the reason that's important a little bit is because I haven't done the the Tiger Sanitation has $2,500 that they give the city for the floor. And so instead of amending the Tiger contract to give it to Earthwise or something else, you could just not even need to amend the contract. They would give us the $2,500 and it would continue to fund the 5K if they keep the 5K back here. If they want to relocate it back to where it is, they wouldn't have enough money to do it that way. But you could use that $2,500 that you get from Tiger to fund the police and public works for that morning if you would like to. So that's why I broke it down that way. And again, I just put, these are kind of estimates. There are things that we did in the past, like help with little things. I didn't include that in the dollar amount. But I know people wanted to see how much money the city has given, whether it was in kind or monetary. There is some discussion, and I don't know if at some point they went back to the LBEDC for a little bit more money. I don't know, but there's a weird conversation, but I don't know if it ever happened. It's some old minutes, but I don't know. I could just be the 9,500, so I just left it that way. So that's where, as far as like the history of the MOU, how we ended up here, why the MOU is till 2030. I wanted to give them more time to get grants because when we came back in 2020, they really hadn't done much, but COVID was during that year. We were going through really big transition with the council, the city manager, and the staff at that time. And so we kind of gave them a little bit of grace, gave ourselves a little bit of grace. I also am a big proponent of, I don't go to the historical, like I'm not like turn this in, turn that in. Like everybody knows what their part of the agreement is. I'm not gonna go seek that. Like if they know what their obligations are, if they did grants, they did anything, it's their duty to turn that over to us. I'm not gonna go hunt it down. It's our duty to make sure that we do everything we say on our side, which we do. The guys go maintain, we hang the Christmas lights, we provide the 5K staff, we give them the community and conference center, and they schedule that. So I do think on our side, we hold up to our end. They have provided updates at the town hall meetings. And the town hall meetings I can see were the 23 and 24 were the last kind of town hall meetings under this MOU that they provided updates to you all on. Other than that, I don't have anything else. So like the 1099, no, not 999. Sorry. So she can send me that link. It can forward y'all that link if that's, but that's kind of the MOU history, kind of where we're at. To try to answer everybody's questions. So any questions from anybody?
Yes, Kathy. Crystal, and I don't want to quibble, but sure. I think we could probably zero in, I don't know, if you want to. I know an example is that we didn't ask for the lights to be put up every year, and in fact, we left them on like a good 2 or 3 years until they were like so old that they had to be like cut off. But we're always appreciative for what we get. Sure, so but I just want you to know, like, it's like,
So I'll tell you the way that I came up with the light thing is there's an email in 2004 to Byron Vick, I think, who was the public works director, asking for some help putting up the lights. Byron says, okay. Manny jumps in and is like, well, I don't know, we should be doing this. Then Manny disappears from that email and Byron just responds saying lights are up. So in 2004, we put up y'all's lights. I don't know if it was done every year. I didn't find every email for each year y'all putting in a request. I know that we were doing it since I have been around for the last few years.
Yeah.
I have told the guys, it doesn't take long, go ahead and do it. It's something we always do, makes Bandera Road look great. Yeah. It's across from City Hall. I have always been amenable to doing that. I just didn't realize, yes, it wasn't ever really put in the MOU. It was something that we kind of just did. I'm not saying we should stop. I'm not saying that, it's just, it wasn't accounted for. So when I redid the MOU, I didn't want to get in trouble on the back end either, saying, well, why did you agree to allow Public Works to put up lights and it's not in the MOU? So I added it to the MOU.
Okay. I'll just add one, just very briefly, that I think there was a period of time with former city managers, and former board members of the Historical Society, like Irene, who had been our mayor, and our city council, and also on city council, who, you know, worked together, and she would just say, well, I'll just ask Public Works to do that. So that was sort of that sort of thing.
And it became practice. And
it became practice.
The
same is
security.
true for the archives.
Yeah.
So, you know, how like
We'll talk
Carol
about that in a little bit.
and the librarian and Joyce Trent, you know, kind of working. So,
right. So
like,
there's
it was
lot
a different time.
Correct.
It was a different time, different people, and a different way of doing business.
Absolutely, and we just can't function that way.
Right.
Right, so I just, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, I'm not, but I just think we just.
I just wanted to note that Michael Kirish from the Historical Society just came in. Thank you and welcome. He was a little late, but I just wanted to recognize him, make sure everybody knew he was here. And Darby Riley, you recognized him.
Yeah, thanks. I just want on the natural area that the 10-year lease is $1 a year, and what that was for was to establish the natural area. At the time, it was just woods, and it wasn't being used for anything. Originally, a bunch of volunteers pulled out about a mile of barbed wire out of the place. And then, but this was a proposal to establish a natural area, so we, the Historical Society, created and maintained trails and signage in the natural area for 10 years. That's what's here today. That's what the city maintains, is what we did. And so that, you know, the public wanted to keep it as a natural area. That's what it is. The city council voted to do that and to keep any trails on the perimeter to keep it as a wildlife refuge. So that's the kind of a little more history on that.
Thank you, I
Well, I was gonna say, we also picked up about 1,000 golf balls in the natural area. Somebody loved to play golf. I mean, I don't know, and yeah, the barbed wire, yeah, but golf balls, I don't know why. Thousands of, I say thousands, but hundreds of golf balls.
They came down the creek, Mayor.
You know what?
They were in the actual 36 acres, we were picking them up.
That's probably.
There's a lot of people
Anyway,
that.
anybody else? Yes, Councilor Compton, you have a comment?
I just want to say, I do recognize the importance of this historical society. I've been part of the Historical Society for the Thomas Jefferson High School. There's a Preservation Historical Society. I was telling Darby before the meeting started that I probably was part of that organization for about 10 years. And we preserved a lot of history for Thomas Jefferson. And we restored fountains within the center of that high school campus. And I'll tell you, I was a treasurer, and so let me tell you what my function was. I was a treasurer. But fundraising, you know, again, I understand the importance of the galas, ice cream socials. We were selling Fiesta medals as well, but those fundraising efforts are just a drop in the bucket of what you need. And what we need, and I mentioned to Darby, that somehow our president got into a network of people who have foundations, personal, private foundations, that were giving us $65,000, $45,000, $75,000 chunks of them to finish this fountain. And we raised over $200,000, and we spent $170 restoring that historic fountain. And I mean, we went to the historic society, the state commission.
Texas Historical Commission.
You know, hired a landscape architect to map out every single tile on that fountain.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
I think that's where y'all need to be. I'm not in that network. I don't know who those, I know who they are. But that's the challenge. As far as the MOU, it's really important to do the compliance. Providing a link is not what is said in the MOU. It is providing the 9 items. It's providing that yearly update to all these items.
Okay.
You know, if you're supposed to make a presentation to city council, it's the city council. I don't know that necessarily a copy with the mayor, but to bring it to the citizens so they can hear.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what's kind of a little troubling me is that right now we were cutting so much in our budget okay? We cut over, well, just short of $370,000 out of our budget. People aren't getting a cost of living raise, but, you know, we're continuing to do these things that are part of the MOU. So we're trying to live up to our end. I think the society needs to live up to their end. And I'm kind of confused about what the museum, the development of a museum, what is it that you're really going to be displaying in that museum? What artifacts? I mean, what would stop somebody from coming, you know, off a busy street of Bandera to stop to say, hey, I'm going to visit that museum? That's kind of what I'm trying to figure that out. And there may be stuff that you have that I just don't know about. So, you know, I think the real importance to me, I don't know if it's really the Huebner house rather than the Onion house. I mean, they're the actual founders. I just don't, because they were residents, okay?
Well,
And they're not contributing any money.
for historic purposes, what we do is we go by who lived there and then who made major changes to the property. So the Onions were the ones who made some major changes to the property in terms of adding on an entire wing, an entire 2-story wing. So it makes more sense when we restore the property to restore it to the period of the 1930s as opposed to going back to 1862 or even 1882, which was the last addition that Joseph Huebner did. So that's why, and because those two families really were instrumental in the house.
That and the Onion family, Judge John Onion bought the place. His 2 sons were both distinguished judges in the state of Texas. John Onion Jr. Was the head of the Court of Criminal Appeals in Texas. That's the highest court for many years. It's the highest court in the state. So, I mean, these are distinguished Leon Valleyites. James was a district court judge and a beloved guy. He was really a great judge. So we need to honor those guys as well, the Onion family. Mrs. Onion was very much loved in this community.
So those individuals that you mentioned, the judges, they were born there on the property, but were they citizens? I mean, did they live there as adults? I have no idea.
They grew up there. They grew up there.
Yeah, they weren't born there, but they grew up there. They were young. They were like maybe 5 years old. They did incorporate Leon Valley.
These young judges, these young lawyers, James and John incorporated the place, you know, on an emergency basis before San Antonio did.
San Antonio was going to annex this, this
was
community.
it the ones that followed for?
Yes.
Yeah. At the nth hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
they
that's
slept in
that,
their car overnight.
that's that story, that Billy Copeland video
Yeah.
that you've seen it maybe, I don't know if everyone has seen it. It might be on your website at some point, but that's that story. Part of that story.
I don't know if the couple just through, I'll go next.
The last thing I was
Okay.
asking, and I mentioned it earlier, it's the parking for the museum, for the, when you're doing the curriculum,
Yeah.
and you want to have all these art events and stuff like that, where do they park? And from what I understood, you're saying Leon Valley's parking lot has served that purpose, and your organization has paid for the security for the crossing.
Yes, yes.
They also park at in-town suites. They
Yeah.
always have 10 parking spots for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. We're hoping as we go forward that we could maybe even look at, we have had a relationship with the Northwest Little League, and there was a time when there was a path along the creek. So I don't know that will exist anymore, but
The creek has changed.
it's changed so much, but that was really the hope.
You still do that. Walk from the parking lot.
Councilor Roscoe.
Thank you, Mayor.
And then
Ever since we reviewed we were told we're gonna have a meeting, I did ask for the master plan, and believe me, I don't believe in killing trees, but I didn't know it's gonna, you know.
Thank
But,
you.
I thank your, office for doing that, Dr. Cardella. Mr. Campos and I discussed this, and we share the same, ideas and concerns that he has expressed, and he definitely put it in better words than I would have. And one of the things that has been crossing my mind for decades is what if the city would take over the homestead? The monies that would be more available as a city compared to the, to your committee. And I don't know the legality of it, I haven't really discussed it with Dr. Cardera. I know that I briefly mentioned that, and she had mentioned it here. I don't know if it's financially advantageous to do that, and still have you as the board of directors running it with us owning it and us paying for some of the repair. I don't know if that's even legally possible. It's just an idea that I had, and Dr. Cadena just had mentioned. If we require the requisition of homestead, how can we, make it work? Mr. Campos indicated, we just went to a very, very stringent budget this year where we got ridiculed and we got, some praises for doing that, but I don't know if we actually have the monies to require, or, take over the homestead at this time. But is it a possibility to even do that, Dr. Cardena?
So you could, they could sell it, you could do deed restrictions as part of the property. It's a historic site, so it's not like we could redo the property without staying in line with the Texas Historic Commission conservation. But I know that's something that they hadn't really been interested in pursuing in the past. I don't know if it's something they're interested in pursuing now. The only thing that it would allow me to do would really dedicate staff to writing grants for the property, spending more time kind of pursuing those.
Where in our budget will we be able to fund some of the repairs for it?
You really wouldn't, you don't have dollars really set aside. I would be using EDCD money to do matching for grants. The person that would be doing the grants for the homestead, if we were on staff, would be Miranda, would probably be Crystal. And so, would just be adding to her workload, and then you pay her more money to be able to do that for us. But that's essentially what we would do, is have somebody on here and do the grants, and then I can use EDCD funds because we own the property. So the difference between when they got a grant from the EDCD before was they were a corporation and a separate entity. Those EDCD funds now are general fund dollars. So you can't really use those, but we could use hot tax. We could do possibly, the City of San Antonio in 2017 did a 380 agreement with the Conservation Society, so we could do a 380 agreement with them for a possible grant match opportunity, but it would have to lead to a public purpose. So that means kind of like the CO situation, the fire department, I know Mike was very crucial in helping them get their certificate of occupancy and going out there and our building inspectors and stuff to get that to happen so they could actually have kids on that first floor. And again, it's kind of one of those things that, if we own it, it's our property, becomes city property, I can use city funds. We can also, if that's part of like a bond package, if we decided to go out for a bond, you can move that in as part of the bond package. I can't do that right now. But, that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, so if I was wrong with this, is that one of the things that concerns that have been brought up to my attention, and I've thought about it as well, that for the past 5 or 6 years, it has been stalemated, that not many repairs or construction has been going on to try to make it to become a museum, if that's what they want to do. And the monies that are being raised are not enough to make it happen. Where the city would take over, we may have a little bit more success in trying to get that done, to bring it up to the standards that the board wants it to be. So that's just my thoughts, I don't know.
I appreciate that, thank you. Let me hear from Lynn.
I just want to add a little footnote to something Philip said. I don't know if you're aware that we have tours, and every time we've had an event, I realize I've only been with the committee for a year, but every time we have an event, we have people that stop coming off the Bandera. They don't live in Leon Valley, some do, some don't. They've always wanted and been curious about this house. And they stop and spend almost that were open their entire time there. We always have a lot of fun stuff for the kids, and they love doing the tours. We actually have, was it 20 people that we just had that came in for a tour?
How many tours do you have a year, would you say?
We're just,
It varies year to year, but, you know, like,
it's moving forward more.
yeah, some are small, some are like individuals will reach out to us and want to see it. This time was a group of newcomers. We worked with the Northside School Museum. I think it was last year, it was the year before last. They were doing the school museum was doing a summer school, and so they brought the kids over, like, you know, in the morning.
Do those tours translate into dollars?
Donations.
They sometimes translate into memberships, so we just picked up like 3 more, even on our Halloween event, yes.
And then the Halloween event, we got around 100 people.
Yeah.
The other footnote is that these are not just locals. We've had people come down from Austin that are historical people that want to know. So it's not just, you know, a local. And it's amazing to have people walk in while we're having these events and, oh, we were just driving by, or we've always been curious about it. We saw you on Facebook. We're getting a lot of hits off of Facebook. So
we had a guy come from Mexico to run our 5K.
Yeah.
He drove from Mexico, ran the 5K, and then he drove home.
So, and then what you were speaking
Yes.
Ray, is that there has been a lot of activity just in this year. I don't know if you've been in the house. It kind of has a little museum quality to it now. We've got our glass cases with our, I'm sorry?
The photos in the front they can look at.
Yeah,
Display
but it
cases,
doesn't
yeah.
have the display cases and the photos, but it kind of has a little museum quality now. Now that we've been able to actually step in and let people come into the house, it's got that it's moving in that direction. So yes, there have been, and
So when is your next event, for the, is it that blue,
Blue Jean Gala, November 7th.
Okay.
The Blue Jean Gala is November 7th. We're doing a cleanup at the homestead on November 22nd. And on December 7th, from 2 to 5 p.m., we'll have a Cowboy Christmas on the grounds of the homestead.
And let me conclude my comments. I love the Hespeler house. And I'm not saying, I mean, I want to stop, I want to or make it the stagecoach depot. I love that place. I like that place. I used to take my golden retriever when I first moved in there.
Yeah.
And no worry, I cleaned up after him. But I like this place. I just looking for things to try to make it successful for you.
Sure.
Well, maybe it's time to go ahead and bring up, you know,
Yes.
we had a consultation with the Conservation Society about a month ago, I guess. A bunch of us met with them to say, you know, we've been languishing about trying to raise $3 million for a while, and you have some suggestions for us. They said, number one, there's a bunch of different partnership things that have been done with cities and nonprofits where the city keeps control so that they have their legal stuff done, but then they create boards that are both groups and they move it that way. But they also said try the Texas Historical Commission because they're acquiring properties. And John Now is the Silver Eagle distributor guy here in town. He is the chair of the Texas Historical Commission, and he is pushing for acquisition of these kind of properties and has acquired a bunch of them. And so, and they do it in different ways, but one way they do is they go to the legislature, and they did a bunch last session, and they asked for several $1 million from the legislature, and surprisingly, they get it. And to get going with these kind of, this is a $3 million at least project to restore the interior of the home. So we need big bucks. We either need a big capital campaign that costs money to get started. You have to have $60,000, $70,000 to pay somebody to run the thing. Or, you know, we could go with, if the Historical Commission adopts you, they will go to the legislature with you, and you get Senator Menendez or Representative to sponsor the bill, and it's been working around the state. So that's one option. And then sometimes the Historical Commission will just buy the place, or just not buy it, but take it over, or you can just run the thing. But I think this idea of asking the legislature for money is got real possibilities, especially if the city agrees to, you know, kind of cooperate and help, and like matching grants occasionally and this sort of thing, and help in running the thing, and create a board that would have the Historical Commission, the city, and the Historical Society all in it. And anyway, that's some of the things, and I've given you a piece of paper from the Historical Commission that explains the three options that they have. They're very interested, they like this property. And we haven't, and that's as far as we've gotten with it. But there's a lot of different ways that we can partner with the city and others to try to get this thing going.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about that comment about city taking over the homestead again? How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess we've discussed it as a board, and you know, the thing is, we're concerned that the city would take it over, and then the city council comes on and says, what are we doing? You know, we don't need to do this, and it drops the thing, you know? And so we just don't feel like that's going to be, if the city exclusively owns the thing, I just think it would be a difficult thing for the city to continually do. I think you have to have a bunch of volunteers to help you with that if you do it, and you know, and I think we're willing to listen on different ideas, you know, on how we can partner to do it.
Even if we took, the city took it over, and you guys still were the board of directors for...
Or you create a joint board or something like that, yeah, I think that's a possibility, but...
The concern is that it's the same thing. It always boils down to money and the making it the priority, and that, you guys may feel very passionately about it. We feel very passionately about it. But 10 years from now, when we're maybe not, doing these tasks anymore, who are the next people? And so we want to make sure that the homestead is set for the future. And that's why we wanted to start looking at some other opportunities for maybe another entity to bring in so that we could cooperate together. And an organization on the state level that has access to more funds would be certainly very beneficial and not burden the citizens of Leon Valley. We want to keep the relationship with the city, and if there's a way that we can strengthen it and expand it, then we would love to talk about that.
And Kathy, if I can ask you, I know what you say about cooperation with each other. What specifically do you need from the council to make this happen?
We don't know yet. We're just kind of in preliminary stages. I just wanted to let y'all know that this was something we're talking about, but I have to follow up. We're going to follow up with the Historical Commission, and we need to meet with Mr. Now, this guy who's chair, because he lives here in San Antonio, and he likes these guys. Maybe get a council person to meet with us and him at the homestead and pitch it to him about whether we could work something out.
Because in answer to your question from earlier, Mr. Campos, we do envision opening the homestead as a museum. At least on the weekends, at least like a Thursday through, Sunday kind of scenario where it would be open to the public. And we envision it being more than just a house museum, more than just having old furniture, old-timey furniture inside the house, although, some people certainly enjoy seeing that. But some changing exhibits that kind of tells the story of the history of Leon Valley and the major events that were happening. So as the house has stood since 1862, and it was almost continuously lived in until 1982, what happened during that time? There was the Civil War, there was the turn of the 19th century and moving from agriculture to industrialization, the growth of the dairy farms in our community, World War I, World War II, the urbanization of Bexar County, the establishment of Leon Valley. There's a lot of stories that we can tell. Stories about the people who live in Leon Valley as well. We kind of think of it as sort of, it's more. It's a homestead that is, that tells the story of the people who built it and who lived there, but it can be more.
Well, there's also 6,000 years of Native American history on this property. We've got a bunch of artifacts that are that old, according to UTSA people, and so that's a nice piece of our history.
Yes, Councilor Campos.
So again, I recognize the importance of it. I think for me, from what I'm hearing, the path forward is really for the state to come in. But,
Maybe.
but now, when you say open it up to the weekends, from Thursday through Sunday, okay, either you're gonna staff it with
We have to
volunteers,
staff
right?
it.
So there's no wages being incurred, but you're still gonna have electricity, for the cooling and just the lights.
No, we would have to staff, we'd have to pay them.
We have to pay staff,
We have to pay
yeah.
staff.
So, are you envisioning charging for somebody to go into the museum? Because your contributions, again,
Yeah.
not seeing the 990s, I don't know what their financial
Sure.
position is at all.
I do, that's on me, I'll make sure that you get the actual copies of that. But yes, at this point, no, there's no money to hire anybody to do that. But with the cooperation of the state of Texas, and once we get it open, then we can qualify for more operational monies.
That's why I'm thinking that the solution, long-term solution is really the state. Because believe it or not, the Alamo, before the Daughters of the Republic ran it, they didn't charge to get it. But they had a souvenir shop and they had other things,
Yeah.
and it's a national, international prominence of the site. But here, we don't have that. And so how are you gonna fund the day-to-day operations? And that's what I'm striking, like this, and I said, look, the city can't participate in that.
We're still talking, I mean, we've talked about opportunities to rent the facilities, to rent the grounds, but then there's the parking. So that's always, a bit of a challenge. Now, if somebody really wants to do it, then we can make arrangements for off-site parking and we can run shuttles for them, so it's not that it's insurmountable. But it would always be sort of like a niche, kind of market. But if there was something else that we wanted to do, more on the retail side, there's the business plan for the homestead is the next step, and it does depend on who the partners are. Yes.
I got one more question. I know you had indicated we're paying for the water.
No, we paid for the impact, we waived the fees, so we waived the impact fees. They still have to pay for the inspections, they still.
So who's paying for the electricity?
But they pay for the water, they pay for the water and the electricity, they pay their bill for the water, they pay, but the hookup, the impact fees, the council waived, but they pay for their inspection fees. They
Okay,
pay for all
so y'all do have monies, revenue to.
We have $41,000, right? Isn't that what
Yeah, we're a little bit above that now. But yes, but we have to, so that said, if we get the grant from the Texas Preservation Trust and the Conservation Society, then there's 30 of that. But yes, we pay those bills. We pay our insurance bill is in the neighborhood of $4,000 a year. So we have those fees. Yes, because it's not occupied. So
I
it
just
costs
have
a little bit more.
a question, so I know y'all's fear if the city took over that I won't be here, y'all won't be here, and then it'll, go into, the wrong hands. My question though is if it has all those Indian artifacts, it's deemed historical house, included as part of the park system, I don't see how that could happen. I don't see how the city could say, we're no longer gonna fund a historic site. Like, I've not known of another city that says, we don't wanna deal with this anymore, we're just gonna let it crumble. I mean, unless y'all can fill me in on an example of that, I don't know of one.
There are some situations in cities where they did take over and things went really well for a while. Then they started, the city was kind of like, well, we've got to start cutting back.
Right.
Which all the cities are, experiencing that. And they started cutting back, so some of the maintenance and things are not being kept up as well.
But
And
the
there is
maintenance to the
concern
building now-
about deterioration of buildings.
I mean, in all reality, it's not like it's a current museum, y'all are operating it, y'all are doing all of these, I mean, you can't get upstairs, you can't go, I mean, it's not, I mean, we helped y'all do the CO go for the bottom and make it safe. But what I'm saying is, it's not like y'all are investing in that now. And so, I mean, from a worst case standpoint, 15 or 20 years from now, the city gets it up and running as a museum, because I do think that that could happen within the next 10 years. I think that's a feasible thing. If the city took it over, we could work with the state. I can dedicate staff to do that. I'm here for now. And so I was one of the kids that broke into the house, and we would, you know, tell scary stories in there in the early 2000s. So I do have some nostalgia with the house, you know, from a personal perspective, right? But and this hasn't been a secret for as long as I have been here. I'm like, just give it to us, you know, we can make it go. Because if we got it up and running, I don't foresee 20 years, I'm gone, right? City's gone, half this table's gone. What that looks like from a city perspective, yes, say the city says we're not gonna do the maintenance on this house anymore, okay. I mean, how worse off is it gonna be with it complete than it is now, I guess is my question.
No, you're right, it's gotta get better than now.
Right, like
Yeah, but are there other ways other than just?
I'm open to the believe me, I mean, from a now, I put on my city manager's hat, right, like us taking on, you know, more money, more debt, like that's essentially what this would be, right? You know, so you put that hat on, no, that's not something that from a manager standpoint we want to encumber either, you know, from a city perspective. But if y'all want to operate safe, but say that doesn't go through and you come back to us and say, hey, we want to expand our partnership again, you know.
I'd like to see y'all pursue the state, but what's the timeline on that? You know what I'm saying? We can't go another year, 2 years, you know, we've got to have like point A to point B. At the end of whatever, we'll see if the state comes through, and then we have, you know, we open up some more options.
That's exactly what I suggest. Let's see where the grants come in. Go ahead and regroup it as your board of directors. Give us a specific list. How is it the city can help you? And we'll meet again and see what we can do. We'll come up with our alternative as far as what would transpire if the city would take it over, what would happen and how much and so forth, and the legal part of it. And we'll talk again. Let's find out what happens in November and December with those grants, and we can move forward from there.
Yes, Council Conference.
In the interim, you know, I know we have reached out to the Senator Menendez as well as I think Representative Cortez, and it was related to Hilltop County. I think if we engage them with this, you know, and ask them for that same cooperation, and the city, as a body, a city council body, we are asking for assistance and your concurrence to get this forward. I think that's what we can do in the short term, you know, but we need to vote on it, right?
Yeah, right. So at the end of this meeting, we'll have next step, and so what we can do is take a vote on doing a resolution that supports that initiative. And then we and the mayor can do like what we normally do, meet with the senator and meet with the councilman.
He's very supportive of that.
And give them the letter showing support. And so when y'all do go to them, they'll have that backing. I certainly don't mind doing that. Not that I don't cost any money, but it's not extra for me and the mayor to do that or the council to take the vote to do a resolution of that nature if that's something y'all are open to.
I just want to make sure that that's the direction. When y'all look at.
We're not sure yet because this is new, but I understand we got to get going on it and try to come up with a plan, so we're going to do that.
But that is why the basis of the MOU is sound. You know, no matter what details in the MOU may work or not work or need to be, you know, amended or, you know, whatever as time goes on. But the basis for having the MOU is so that we do have something at least where, like, you know, we do work together, and this is how we work together, and so that we can show the state of Texas, we can show the Historic Preservation Board, we can show, you know, Senators Menendez, and, you know, we can make sure that, you know, they see that this is the foundation under which we've been working.
And so.
No, go ahead.
So I just want to make sure that is the direction that your board wants. Before we step in front of it and say, oh, Senator and Representative.
Absolutely.
Right? We want to make sure y'all are happy with that option.
Yeah, we want to do a little bit more research. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 other organizations that we wanted to talk to.
Preservation Texas also does this kind of stuff, and they haven't, they were talking to their group, and they're going to get back to me, and they haven't yet, so anyway, this is kind of new. So we understand that everybody's anxious to see something happen.
Is there an example of one of those statewide organizations taking over? Is it like Castroville?
Yeah,
Castroville?
It is like Castroville.
Castroville.
It's just one.
Yeah.
There's a number of them. but it varies according to the site.
Landmark, Deanna, and Castro.
Okay.
Something that hasn't been brought up yet, and I thought that was gonna be a major point, was the Historical Society's concern about the erosion because of the creek beyond.
That's next on the list.
I was thought,
Can we, before we go to that, is there anything else on the, I just wanted to know, like, how long should we give the Historical Society to come back to us? What's reasonable time?
Is it what, we come back in a year, like what,
You know, I just
a
don't know.
year? I mean, cause they're more volunteers, right? So,
But I just don't want us to, it to fall through the
is
cracks
it a
again.
year? Do you want me to check back with you in a year, 6 months?
Why don't we get Councilman Campos to help us, and so we get some more volunteer time in here. And
See?
I was just a treasurer. I was just a treasurer. I don't know where the funds are. I second that.
That's funny.
So, I mean, we could circle back in, as a year. I don't wanna shorten it, 6 months, a year. I mean,
It depends on who we can get in touch with and their timeline.
Yeah, that's.
Well, let's say no more than a
It's
year.
not us.
No more
Let's
than a
say
year.
no more than a year.
Okay.
And if you can get back to us in 6
We
months
hope
or
to
8
be
months,
much
let's do
shorter
it.
than that, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
I would probably promote the fact that we have a check-in or something in 6 months and have a shorter timeline than a year,
Yeah,
because,
that's what I think.
Yeah.
you know,
agree.
I think we
agree.
need to have some deadlines, and if there are extenuating circumstances where they can't get back to you, or their calendar only allows for whatever, then we can get that information at that 6-month check-in before the year, so I would be in favor of a shorter timeline.
Okay, so for this one, Mayor, to tie up this particular agenda item, the Historical Society will do a follow-up with the Texas Historic Commission and kind of looking at that partnership, and we'll get an update from them within 6 months.
Okay, sounds good. All right, sounds great.
It'd be good, because there may be a new council.
Yeah, that's right.
So, you wanna move on to that?
Yeah, I
Just got 30
wanted
minutes.
just to address the 5K because as I was talking to the manager, I said, and we were looking at the budget, I said, well, we don't have the 5K in our budget for next year. But you had an idea with the Tiger money for 2,500. Go ahead if you would like.
Yeah, no, so I mentioned it on the last slide, we kind of touched on it a little bit. If you keep the brace on this side, the 2,500 from Tiger would cover that, but there was some discussion from the council, and since I had a quorum here, to use that 2,500 to pay for Earthwise, to give that money to Earthwise instead. And so I just kind of need a feel for.
Well, Earthwise already has 2,500.
No, I know, but at the last meeting, when we were briefly talking about Earthwise, they asked me to contact Tiger, when we were ending the budget conversation, to amend the agreement to see if they would give the 2,500, reallocate the 2,500, and we said to Earthwise. I didn't contact them because I said, well, we're gonna do they're gonna come back and do a budget adjustment from the sponsorship monies that they raised to move the money over. And so, anyway, I was trying to give them an option.
The 2,500 that Tiger gave to the 4th of July, her big gala thing that we do would.
Just go to the 5K, it's still for the 4th, so I don't have to amend the agreement.
Agreed to.
And so, y'all haven't heard this, I mean, I told you, but I haven't discussed that with the council members.
So I would support asking Tiger to donate their 4th of July money to the 5K, because I think we've
We
identified.
wouldn't tell them anything,
Well,
it's just
okay, but-
give the money to them.
Give the money to the fund, but they've gotta ask questions if we have it out in public that we're not gonna have our 4th of July
I've talked to, we
celebration.
knew, so we've had conversations, and I said, we're still looking at doing the 5K piece to the 4th, and he knows that that's still, like, because we've been dealing with the brush pickup, it's kind of been side conversation.
But I
so-
think there's enough other big donors that normally gave to the 4th of July that we could approach for Earthwise.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, it's like, let's kind of split the big donors and let Tiger support go to the 5K, and us approach some of the other normal donors for the 4th of July extravaganza to look at Earthwise as an option.
So I'm curious, so if y'all are okay with keeping the 5K on this side, I mean.
We are. We think that worked really well in spite of the rain.
Yeah.
And,
See, because we could go all the way to the bridge and back. We had to turn
Yeah.
around because it was too rainy and too muddy.
we couldn't do the loop that we wanted to do, and Public Works had made us a really nice path down the hill on the other side of the fire station. I think
Yeah,
it's,
wash away.
it's still
Kind of there.
It's still kind of there. I took my dog there, but yeah, but that actually, did work pretty well. And now we know what side of the street we can put our tent on, and what side of the street we can't put our tent on, so we'll take care of that too. But we thought it worked out pretty well, so.
So then the next step would be nothing, I'll handle it on our side, but I need to make sure that there's consensus.
Is everybody on board to ask?
Yeah, I just didn't wanna lose the 2,500 from,
I agree, okay, to transition it
And
to
just
the
let you have a 4th of July activity.
I just wanted to voice my support with what that mentioned.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Everybody's on that side, okay.
So then I'll put it in an email to Tiger to make it a little bit more official, but I'm hearing that we're good with that.
Thank you, council members, and thank
Thank
you,
you,
Crystal.
Crystal, is that just for 2020?
No, I'll bring it back to you,
Just maybe copy the historical society.
So when we get
council
to the
on
very last one, I'm gonna say summarize and possible action on the next step. I'm gonna summarize everything we've kind of gone over, and then I'll ask the council to take a quick vote.
And Councilor Roscoe is excused, he has an issue
yeah,
at the
and my house doesn't have
He needs to-
electricity, so.
He needs to address, he already talked to me
I
about
will
it.
fix it, but I don't mess with electricity, man. I'll do your plumbing, I'll do your. So,
Trying to get the gate.
so thank you guys.
Trying to
Okay.
get
And
prepared.
I know that
I know you're
council
gonna go
people,
with the
I'm in touch with y'all, whatever you guys wanna go.
Appreciate your
Thank you.
input, thank you.
All right, guys.
Do appreciate it.
While the city manager is doing that, can I just add just my 2 cents worth?
Oh, well, does anybody have an opposition? Rita is a passionate historical
Well,
society
because,
lady.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just want
Tell
to
her.
remind those of you here, maybe on this side, when we initially looked at this house, do you know the effort it took to get it? You have no idea the small group that started to investigate. And one I need to point out, because she's so dear to my heart, was Agnes Meadows. She put a lot of money and time, passion into this. And then the hotel next to it, they were going to buy that piece where the house is sitting on now, and just raise it and put a parking lot. We didn't know this at first.
That was the history that we didn't get to discuss yet.
Right, but we already
But
went
I know
over
we
the
need to
history.
move on, we do, because we only
okay.
have till
But I'm saying
1:30
it's
and we gotta have
an
discussion.
incredible
The
effort.
erosion.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
it was a matter of literally hours.
My mother walked our entire
To
city.
save this
I
house.
know.
The word got out, the telephone calls were made, and Agnes and whoever that was put a stop to that.
Yeah, it was a real community effort to save that thing, so I'd say that house, I agree. But at the same time, we've got to stay on topic, but thank you, Rita. And on the erosion piece.
So I handed out 2 things to y'all there. Just kind of a brief little history on the erosion piece. The council has been working with Sauls, and they've gone and done engineering. And so I have included in this one sheet of paper what we've spent so far on the erosion piece. We've spent $245,000, we've allocated $801,000. And the reason we stopped is because the council tabled the item because they didn't like the amount of trees that were gonna come out with any of the 3 options. So the council did ask, what would it be for like a Band-Aid approach, right? To go in and just do a small little piece, it's about $1 million to do that. We haven't had it engineered, but it's about 984,000 less trees will be taken out. That's kind of where we stood. I know the Historical Society sent in a letter requesting a bridge. And briefly talking with the engineers didn't, it would still need to be engineered, it would still need to go to FEMA. And they didn't think it would be a long-term solution for a bridge. They thought the bridge could possibly be washed out over time. Their long-term recommendation was the one that took out quite a number of trees and realigning the creek altogether. We did go to the San Antonio River Authority. They're proposing a plan as well. They proposed a plan, but it's going to take out houses and even more trees than any of our plans, and I provided that draft to the mayor. They do believe that
That didn't really address the erosion in that one area.
but it's a whole, it would, and it's a whole creek widening, so it will, I mean, they're essentially proposing what we proposed, which was realigning and shifting the creek over, and we would buy out some properties. And so that was our DER's first plan, was realigning the creek, taking out the whole strip. We said, okay, stay within the creek parameters. We did a budget adjustment, we stayed along those lines. So if you go back to the timeline, the city's been very, very active since I came on board in trying to address this issue. The project is currently on hold because nobody wants to touch the trees. And so the only solution I have to really not touch the trees is the $900,000. I do have an email from the San Antonio River Authority from about a year ago. They believe if the erosion isn't addressed, the erosion's gonna kill the trees there anyway. And so it's one of those kinds of conversations that we probably need to bring back to the council on what needs to be done there. But I know that there's been like, put a retaining wall, just put a retaining wall and put dirt in the hole, right? It's kind of, doesn't work that way, it's in a floodplain. The retaining wall will probably protect the house, but it would just protect the house, it's not going to fix the erosion issue.
Okay. Kathy and then Councilor Campbell.
Just real fast, I think that any conversations that we have with the Texas Historical Commission, like that might be something that maybe the state could maybe try to help us with in the long term. But the other point too is our more recent letter to you was really more just about asking SAWS to take care of that one line that you can see, that has become
Right, so
eroded.
we met with SAWS. SAWS is saying we need to do some engineering. They need some scoring done, and so that's part of that. They don't believe, so they haven't, so when I first came on as city manager, I did some satellite imaging with Google, and basically they took semi-responsibility, but are saying that the erosion there isn't due to their line. They're not taking full responsibility, but they at least open the door to be able to assist us in doing it. They're saying they would give us some dollars. They're not gonna cut the line. They won't agree to us chopping off the line or lowering the line. We've had a couple of conversations with them. Now, what they did say is that they would possibly assist us, but we needed to bring them a plan. So that's the only way that they'll come in, and so our plan was one of these options. But because we halted on these options, there's no plan that has gone to them. And so they had some ARPA money left over, I don't know if they still do. And so we've taken a little bit too long on this, I don't know if the money that they were gonna look at assisting us with is even still available.
Okay, they didn't have any money left. Councilor Campbell, you were at that meeting.
So I was at that meeting, and so here's what I understood, is that they're not opposed to cutting that strip, that concrete strip, okay? Because the line is very deep down there. And what they did is they filled in that line area to where the creek bed was at that time. And through the erosion, that thing is now sticking up. Okay, so they said, well, if we cut it, what is gonna prevent it from continuing to go down? And so what are you, Leon Valley, gonna do to prevent it from going down further, and you're gonna have the same problem again in a few years? Okay, that's what I understood.
Yeah, but they also said that they wouldn't even investigate that because we needed the scouring.
I was gonna say, they needed some
scouring. But the council, in order to do that, we needed to pick a plan.
Yeah.
And so, but we halted on that, on the plan option. So either the council needs to get back together, we need to have a recap and kind of get y'all to decide on a plan with that. I know the trees, I'm a tree lover. And people, I'm always the one on the bad side of the trees. But the best time to plant trees, they say 20 years ago and now, right? The famous philosopher said it. And so I do think though that those trees are gonna go. I think a lot of trees are already dying in the natural area. I do think a lot of them have oak wilt. I think if we started planting now, some oak wilt resistant trees in the natural area and in that general area, y'all will eventually have, yes, 20 years from now, but you plant trees for a future, not for yourself, right? You plant trees for the next generation, and so it may be that we address the erosion issue, it takes out some trees, but any tree we take out, the city, whether it's from our tree mitigation fund, which we do have a lot of money in there, whether it's Fair County Alliance, and we go in there and replant the trees. I know those oak trees are 500 years old.
It's the heritage trees.
It's the heritage trees that everybody's very, very passionate about. I know trees can live, thousands of years, 500 years, but they are still living things. They are eventually going to die. And so at some point, I do think you know, in y'all's best interest to plant new trees in there anyway. And so if y'all are going to address the erosion issue, that helps not only the flood control project, but also the historical house, because that was the only reason the house became a top priority because it looked like it was gonna take the barn off but some of the council members at the time, we have a different council warrant, didn't want to address it in that nature because they didn't want it just to protect the house. They didn't want to spend $8 million just to protect the house. We could do the Band-Aid approach, which is $1 million approach, and that could maybe.
Can we do that in the short term, you know what I'm saying?
So Ardura is saying they're not making any promises, but they're estimating five-year timeframe with that. So again, it's one of those things. Now, the Historical Society on their side, you can do whatever you want on your property. You can go get an engineer and do what you need to do on your property to protect the house. So y'all can expend those funds to do that as well. And so that's also an option, you know, I know.
We're looking at that, we are, and that's okay. That's like, we recognize that that's our property and our responsibility. But we just didn't want to let it die.
Yeah.
We didn't want to let that conversation just go float away.
I agree. We've got $800,000 allocated. We have spent $245 of that money. And some of that had to do, some of it kind of lost funds because we switched gears a little bit. The council just needs to come.
I just want to let everybody know we have 15 minutes left in order to honor your time commitment today, which we greatly appreciate everybody coming together. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit, and then we'll have some time for next steps. Yes, we can all agree on. So, yes, Council.
I think I would suggest that one of the next steps would be to bring our new council members that were not in this prior conversation, to bring them up to speed as to.
I did include Councilor Murr. She was running at the time, so she was involved in some of the meetings. So
and I went on the tour, and I got some of the background of the riprap.
She was unopposed,
yeah.
She would be on the council.
Yeah.
So she's a little bit more aware than Councilor.
But we can do a
But I was at the
presentation.
historical meetings.
Yeah.
We could do a presentation recap at like the November 21st
Well, I'd
meeting.
like to know more about that $1 million short term.
I could bring our juror, so it's, again, it was a proposed, I
don't think we ever got a presentation on that, did we? I don't think so.
No,
I think you went out and got it,
we did, I brought it back, that's when y'all killed it. Cause it still took out some trees, and you were like, oh, no, and so.
I think it's more than protecting the house, it's protecting the natural area, because it's eroding that portion of it.
I agree.
Yes.
You've been over there, haven't you? I mean, I call it the Grand Canyon, but it's now, it's more than that now, it's huge.
I would like to get back to Saws and say, get another meeting with them and say, okay, here's the scour, I'm not an engineer, so the scour report, I guess my interpretation of what that is how long would it take the riverbed to continue to go down with whatever we're doing here?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. And so, get back to them, because I'll tell you this, and I'm not the person that talks to Saws, okay, beyond the involvement of Leon Val, but from what I know from reading the paper, okay, is that they're cutting back on the capital improvement budget. Okay, when I was there, before I retired, it was at the $600 million mark. Because they are trying to go for a rate increase, they're trying to cut back on their capital projects, and they're now in the $200 million.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we need to get in there and wedge our elbows in there and say, hey man, we need to come up, we need some money. And I know they have a bucket of money for city type projects that we would.
So you think of having another meeting with them would be beneficial?
But we need to be prepared.
Right, we need to be prepared, and so but I can't do a scouring report on 5 options, right? I need y'all to pick an option, and for me to pay the engineers to do a scour report on that option. So then we can go to Saws and say, this is where we're at. Can we cut the line, and our juror had been reaching out to them saying, can we just get permission that you would allow us to do it if X, Y, Z happened, and they wouldn't answer our juror.
I know Lynn had her hand up, I'm sorry, and I believe John Hoyt, did you want to weigh in on this too? He has some.
He was supposed to text me, they haven't texted me, so.
Okay, so I just thought maybe he had something to say.
Okay, I think, can you hear us?
Yes.
We tried turning the microphone.
We can hear what?
Okay, you're asking your opinion on
Okay,
what's
and then
going on
Lynn,
the
let's go
erosion.
him, and then, okay, thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is gonna be.
Sure.
The erosion, there just below the pipeline, I believe is a simple case of headward erosion of the stream of Heaton Creek. The work done downstream has dropped the stream bed elevation, and so a stream will just seek a new level and it erodes headward. So it's eroded up to the pipeline. Can't go past the pipeline because of that concrete structure. So now, it turns and goes up the little tributary. So, I don't understand what the causes are seem to be fairly clear to me. It'll take the SAWS or SARA drainage engineers to tell you what to do about it. And like Crystal said, it's a Band-Aid approach. How, that's just all engineering questions of what they could possibly do about it, other than some permanent new drainage alignment. So I guess that's where it leaves it is ask the SAWS folks or SARA folks what temporary measures could be done other than a complete realignment. That's the crux of it. If you look under the Bandera Road Bridge, you'll see the markings on those columns that support the bridge. You can see where the elevation of the stream bed has been dropped. It's like 3 to 5 feet. And then has exposed the pipeline. So if you remove the pipeline, of course, that won't do anything for the current erosion that you see. And what concrete structures could be installed in those erosion areas as possible, how permanent that would be and whatnot. Those are engineering questions. The cause of it is, to me, is the dropping of the stream bed elevation and then stream seeking to reestablish a baseline. So,
well, that could be remedied fairly easily by putting a drop structure at some place between the Bandera Creek, Bandera Road, and the erosion.
I'm not an engineer, I don't know. Come to the meeting when the engineers are here.
Well, I'm an engineer.
There you go.
I'm an engineer, okay. What was that called, Mike?
Drop.
It's a concrete drop structure. In other words, you see them all over town, where the level of the channel is this way, and then all of a sudden you have a 2 to 3 foot drop with concrete, so it doesn't erode all the way down. So you have the 6 feet per second. You have a concrete drop structure you have there, and then it still stays at 6 feet per second.
It's kind of like a little dam or
right,
something?
It's a little dam. And if you don't have that, that's when the velocity of the water will go from 6 to 10, which would cause erosion.
So I do know that there's some problems with, one of the council members at the time asked, why don't we go deeper instead of wider, was a question. And they said there's a lot of utilities there. And so I don't know if that's the reason why, I don't know.
I don't know anything about it.
I just need to let Lynn speak. She's been raising her hand, and I don't mean to ignore you, but thank you. You're next. Go ahead.
I live east of where all this is happening. I'm on Heaton Creek. I have been watching this infrastructure going on in that creek for 2 years, almost going on 3 years. And what has happened and what I'm seeing living there, and Philip and we met one time with Melinda to discuss with SAWS, and I didn't get in on that meeting. I don't know if they ever had their meeting, but my concern was they increased the width of the creek back there, and it has created more of a torrent. So you've got gallons of, excuse the terms, I don't know, but gallons of water going down to Evers, to that bridge, and then narrowing down, and then becoming even more torrent and tearing in an erosion. So that goes all the way through the natural area, the park, down past the homestead. Then it opens up into LC 17. So that is just eating away at all that. And that is, I don't understand, did you ever meet with them, Philip, to discuss that with you and Melinda?
Well, what we were talking about, from what my recollection, is whether or not with that project by the library, is it at the same elevation as it was, when they restored it, according to the
That was, yes,
elevation?
that was one of the
And
discussions.
I think they recently got the report, Melinda got the report, that it was, they did survey it, and it was the same, and then they closed the project.
But
That's
it's
what I'm
wider
understanding.
now.
Yeah,
So you've got
they
more
brought
water.
it back and restored it, but
Very good.
It's not, no.
So.
Just that John Hoyt was with the Edwards Aquifer Authority for many years and worked with it, on all these kinds of drainage problems. He is an expert.
Okay. All right.
Is it possible to have these?
John,
A
go
good
ahead.
example, Michael was referencing concrete drop structures.
Yeah.
There in Zarzamora Creek at Evers Road, there's a nice example of what you want to see.
Yeah, that's right.
So to
Zarzamora Creek.
have these, our engineers present when we have the meeting with the Bureau, that would be very helpful, because none of us on the council are engineers.
No.
You know, and so I'm glad you brought that alternative up, because we would never have brought it up. We don't know any better.
Okay. All right. So, we've only got 5 or 6 minutes left, so are we ready to wrap up, or is there any other comments?
I just think we
Councilman
do need
Marsh.
kind of a summary meeting to kind of review all the different options that have been brought up or presented over the years. But I also want to express some support for what Dr. Caldera was talking about in terms of the longer we wait to do something, the worse everything's gonna get. So I'm supportive of the idea that even if we sacrifice some trees for a solution now and then replant appropriately, we're making some progress. It's not gonna happen overnight for sure, but the longer we delay in doing something because of our fear of taking out too many trees is gonna delay us getting new trees in the ground to replace the trees that we're sacrificing.
The removal of 500-year-old trees is a major decision that.
Well, and I
really
think a
needs to
lot
take
of us need the background of exactly how many 500-year-old and how
and
many
where they are.
general trees are there and, you know, that kind of thing. But I've just been hearing generalized this many trees, but not
We
differentiating.
walked it once, but we can walk it again, because we
Yeah.
have new people, and I'd like a tag. So if there's so many tags in that natural area, we don't know what's going and what's not, so.
but
Yeah.
it's not free.
No, I understand it's not
So
free.
as long
I
as, it's not my
understand
money,
it's
so as long as y'all, like, I don't want people to
But we-
think like,
Yeah.
but we can re-tag, we can re-walk it,
Yeah.
we could do, we can
Right.
repeat,
Okay.
repeat, recycle.
Well, you know, it's just.
We
it's
can't
a
just
major
walk it with
decision.
y'all and have y'all
It's a
show
major
us
decision,
instead
you
of
know?
having to retag everything. Have to retag it, cause I don't know what tree, I mean, when you go out there, it's kind of a blur, and depending on what option you pick, it's each different alignment. We did it for both alignments, and then we said no. We haven't done the Band-Aid approach and what that would look like, but, we tagged, retagged, and Saws went out there and tagged, and so, anyway.
Okay,
I just wondered. Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, I don't understand.
I was just
I don't
trying,
know.
I was just trying to find a time. That's one all the time. Okay, so.
Either we do the recap or what we kind of decided.
What was the recap on the erosion though? What was the consensus?
So my
of
understanding on the
group?
erosion, and I'll just, and so
Okay.
then correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
is that the staff will bring back a presentation with the engineers to the council. And then y'all will provide us whatever that is, and you can bring the historical society to that meeting, Mayor, open to the public, invite the historical, whether the
You bet.
21st or
Need them
whatever,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. It could be in November, it could be in December. And we can bring back a presentation with the engineers, you know, and Melinda and myself. I'd like to do it before Melinda retires. Melinda retires January 16th.
No.
And so.
Well, what about the meeting with Saws though?
Believe me,
Should we do a
I've heard
follow-up meeting with Saws before Melinda?
Your Saws is gonna tell you the same thing. I think y'all always put the cart before the horse because we sit there and say, we don't know a plan, we don't know. Saws isn't, I mean, you need to get a plan in place, something in place. Cause the last meeting we had, it was a lot of, well, we need this, we need that. We can't meet with them and just, we're wasting their time. So I do think.
But if we have a plan,
and then we can meet with them.
Correct, absolutely.
Before Melinda retires. Is that
Oh, I
right?
don't think we're gonna have that. I'll just bring Belinda back as a contract person for those little meetings. I have her geared up for a couple of contract things for next year, just to close out some projects. David's well informed, love David to death, think he's ready to go. So I don't want that to be misconstrued, but some of these long-term projects will be bringing her back.
Can we make a suggestion to Ardura that they might consider when they talk to council? About, for example, this idea that
The
John
job
and
structure?
Michael
The
talked
job, yeah.
Well, that may not work, but one thing about the improvements along Havener Creek is that it may reduce the 100-year floodplain, which we probably are building out. So if you do all these improvements, then maybe the floodplain will go below.
It's always good.
Alright, so, but to answer your question, can the Historical Society bring some suggestions to Ardura at that
At the
meeting?
meeting, yeah, bring whatever
Okay, there we
suggestions you
go.
have.
Just wanted to get that, and
Take
thank
them
you,
up.
Michael, for that comment. Yes, Councilman.
For me, my opinion is that we shouldn't have it at our city council meeting because it takes too long.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a workshop that we have on Saturday.
I really do.
That we then have all the alternatives for the council members, as well as the input from Historical Society members with Ardura, and that we can discuss it for a longer period of time than just a
I like
brief
that
period of
idea
time.
better, I really do, because we're so pressed at a council meeting,
Right.
because we get so much more on the agenda, yeah.
That's just
Okay,
my
that's a good
suggestion.
idea. Does everybody concur with that, or do we have
So-
consensus of that?
Okay, so on the erosion, we'll bring back a presentation with the engineer at a workshop. At a future workshop, and we'll collectively come up with the date.
Okay.
I would like it done in November. The only reason is I'm trying to be home. We do have a time clock with Melinda, and I'd like to be her retirement date, so.
Okay, so November, maybe December, early December.
Yes, ma'am.
I would be in favor of the sooner the better,
Okay, we'll
because
look at it.
we
Manager.
need to get the ball rolling and to have the knowledge of the proposals on the table and what the impact would be, or if there are alternatives, because they're gonna have to go back and calculate if that alternative is a possibility and what it would cost, and so I think we need to get as early in November as we can.
We'll work
And the
there.
benefit of a Saturday workshop also is that we're not stuck on that every 2 week time frame. We can do something in between.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, and so then,
So we're
5K,
so
you
we're
want to
gonna
just go
keep-
through your list?
Sure. So, as far as the timeline for the Historical Society, we're gonna do a check back in 6 months. They're gonna follow with the Texas Historic Commission. We're gonna keep the 5K. I'll address that with Tiger Sanitation. And then we're gonna do a presentation to council with the engineers sometime in November at a workshop.
Okay, sounds good.
And everybody okay with that? I don't hear
Yeah,
anybody.
no, I mean, anybody wants to add anything to that, or that's pretty, I think so.
All right.
All right.
There you go, Mayor.
Thank you all very much.
Yes, it's
Thank you.
1:31. So if there's no further,
we decided, because
if
they're
there's
doing
no
the work.
further discussion, I need to close the
Another
meeting
time.
at 1:31 on Saturday, October the 18th, 2025. Thank y'all so much for being here.
Thank
You want
you.
to close your meeting too?
Yes, this
All right.
concludes the meeting of the Leon Valley Historical Society.
All right, thank y'all so much. I think it was very productive. Thank you so much.
It was nice to meet you.
Moving along.
I enjoyed working so much.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I know there's some food.
Yeah, so much here, thank you, yeah.
It's on the second page.
Yeah.
And I got all our stuff. Oh, there's food. It's food. I really-